We practice dying every single day, not physically, but in all the small ways we tell ourselves, not yet. Maybe later, when the time is right. I spent years rehearsing for the conversation I'd have when I had more courage, rehearsing for the life I'd start when things were more stable, rehearsing for the person I'd become when I finally felt ready. And then one day I looked up and realized the rehearsal had become the performance. This was it. This was my life. And I'd spent all of it waiting in the wings for a cue that was never going to come. Because here's what no one tells you. That permission you're waiting for, it doesn't exist. There is no director who's going to walk on stage and say, okay, now you can start living for real. You just wake up one day and realize you've been dying in increments so small you didn't notice. A postponed dream here, a silenced instinct there, a Tuesday that felt exactly like the Tuesday before it, until weeks become years, and years become a life you never actually chose. You just failed to say no to. But here's what's darker than that. Sometimes you did choose it, and that's what I can't stop thinking about. There's a specific kind of death that happens while you're still breathing. It's not violent, it's not sudden. It's so gradual you don't even notice you're participating in it. Every morning I'd wake up and put on a version of myself like a costume. Not the person I was, the person I'd agreed to be. And the strange thing, I can't even remember when I signed that contract. Was it in college, when I chose the practical major over the one that excited me? Was it the first time I laughed at a joke I didn't find funny because everyone else was laughing? Was it the day I realized that being interesting was riskier than being acceptable? I don't know. But somewhere along the way, I started building a life designed to avoid a specific feeling. The feeling of being seen as foolish, as impractical, as someone who wanted too much or cared too deeply about the wrong things. So I became careful with my words, careful with my dreams, careful to only want things that could be justified in a conversation with strangers. And carefulness, I learned, is just another word for slow disappearance. Because here's what happens when you spend years editing yourself for an audience. You forget what the original draft looked like. You forget what your voice sounds like when you're not performing reasonableness. You forget what you actually feel versus what you've been taught to feel. Until one day you're standing in your own life like a tourist. Everything looks vaguely familiar, but you can't shake the feeling that you're in the wrong place. That somewhere, in some other version of events, there's a you that made different choices. And that version is actually living, while you're here, breathing, functioning, paying bills and meeting obligations, and doing all the things that signal normalcy. But somehow, absent, like you're watching your life through glass, close enough to see everything, too far away to feel any of it. I started noticing something strange. I'd be in the middle of conversations I'd had 100 times before, and I'd hear myself say things I didn't remember deciding to believe. That's just how things are. You have to be realistic. Maybe some people are just built for that kind of life. And I'd think, when did I start talking like this? Whose voice is this? Because it wasn't mine. It was borrowed. Assembled from every disappointed adult who'd ever told me to stop asking inconvenient questions. Every well-meaning person who'd confused their limitations for universal truth. I'd inherited an entire philosophy without questioning it. The philosophy that says, wanting things is dangerous. Dreaming is for children. The measure of maturity is how effectively you can murder your own longings. And I'd gotten very, very good at it. So good that I didn't even register it as violence anymore. It just felt like growing up, being reasonable, having perspective. But sometimes, late at night, I'd feel something underneath all that reasonableness. Something that hadn't agreed to any of this. Something that was still waiting. Not patiently, not quietly, but with the kind of terrible patience that comes from knowing it has no other choice. Have you ever felt like there's a version of you trapped somewhere inside? Not a better version, just a truer one. One that got locked away so long ago you've almost forgotten it's there. Except sometimes you'll catch a glimpse. You'll hear a song and suddenly remember what it felt like to want something so badly it scared you. Or you'll see someone taking a risk you convinced yourself wasn't worth taking, and you'll feel this flash of something that's not quite jealousy, not quite regret, something darker, recognition, because they're doing the thing you told yourself you'd do. Back when you still believed you were the kind of person who did things like that, before you learned to be practical, before you developed that voice in your head that sounds like wisdom, but is really just fear dressed in adult clothes. That voice that says, "Who do you think you are? What makes you special?" People like us don't get to want things like that. And the cruelest part? That voice isn't even yours. It's a recording, a compilation of every person who projected their own limitations onto you and called it advice. Every teacher who needed you to be smaller so they could feel adequate. Every parent who loved you but couldn't imagine you becoming something they'd never seen before. You internalized all of it, made it your own, turned their fear into your ceiling. And now you're living in a house built from other people's abandoned dreams, wondering why it doesn't feel like home. There's a transaction that happens so quietly you don't realize you're making it. You trade possibility for certainty. Not all at once, just in small exchanges. A compromise here, a recalibration there. Each one individually justifiable, each one collectively fatal. You take the job that makes sense instead of the one that calls to you. You stay in the relationship that's stable instead of the one that makes you feel alive. You choose the city where everyone expects you to be instead of the one you can't stop thinking about. And each time you tell yourself, "This is temporary. I'm just building a foundation. Once I have enough security, then I'll take the risks." But the foundation never stops needing to be built, because security isn't a place you arrive at. It's a drug you develop tolerance to. The more you have, the more you need. The more you need, the less you're willing to risk. Until one day you realize the foundation became the whole house, and you're living in the basement. I did this for years, told myself I was being smart, strategic, playing the long game. But here's what I was actually doing. I was negotiating with fear. And fear is a terrible negotiator because it never keeps its promises. It promises that if you just make this one compromise, you'll feel safe enough to take risks later. But later never comes, because the compromise didn't make you safer, it made you more afraid. It showed you that you're willing to trade pieces of yourself for comfort. And once you know that about yourself, the fear knows it too, so it asks for more. Just one more year in the job you hate. Just one more decade in the city that drains you. Just one more lifetime of being the version of yourself that other people can understand. And the thing is, you could leave. Right now. Today. The job? You could quit. The relationship? You could end it. The whole life you've built that doesn't fit anymore? You could walk away. But you won't. Not because you can't, but because you've spent so long building this cage that leaving would mean admitting you built a cage. That all those years of being responsible and practical and realistic weren't wisdom. They were just fear with better marketing. And that admission costs more than most people can pay. Because if you admit that, you have to ask the question that's been sitting in the corner of every quiet moment. What else was a lie? What else did I convince myself I believed because believing it was easier than changing? What else am I doing right now, today, that I'll look back on in 10 years and realize was just another transaction with fear? These questions don't have comfortable answers. They have true answers. But true and comfortable are almost never the same thing. So most people don't ask them. They just keep making the trades, shaving off a little more of themselves, negotiating a little more of their life away, until they're 60 and suddenly realize they've been living in the wrong movie for 40 years, playing a character that was never theirs, following a script they never agreed to. And by then, the weight of all those accumulated years feels too heavy to set down. So they tell themselves, well, this is just life. This is what it means to be an adult, to be responsible. And maybe they're right. Or maybe they've just gotten so good at rationalizing their surrender that they can't tell the difference anymore between acceptance and defeat. Here's the part no one wants to admit. We know. Deep down, in the place we don't let ourselves look, we know exactly what we're doing. We know we're choosing safety over truth, comfort over authenticity, the approval of people we don't even like over the respect of the one person whose opinion should matter most. Ourselves. We know. But knowing and admitting are different things, because admission requires action, and action requires change. And change requires becoming someone we've spent years trying not to be. Someone uncertain, unfinished, unable to promise everyone that everything will be fine. So we perform certainty instead. We perform contentment. We perform gratitude for lives that slowly suffocate us. We perform happiness so convincingly that we almost believe it ourselves. Almost. But then there are those moments, 3 a.m. moments, when the performance drops. When you're alone with yourself and there's no one to convince, no audience to manage, no narrative to maintain. And in those moments you feel it, the weight of all the lives you didn't live, all the versions of yourself you killed in the name of being reasonable, all the risks you didn't take because you were too busy protecting a future that might never come. And here's what makes it unbearable. It's not that you failed. Failure would almost be easier. At least failure means you tried. It's that you succeeded at the wrong thing. You became exactly what everyone expected you to become. You built exactly the life that makes sense to people who don't know you. You optimized for a game you never wanted to play, and you won. But the prize is a life that doesn't fit, that never fit, that you knew wouldn't fit even while you were building it. And now here you are, successful, stable, suffocating, with just enough comfort to make leaving impossible, and just enough awareness to make staying unbearable. That's the real trap. Not that you can't change, but that you built just enough of a comfortable cage that changing feels harder than staying. So you stay, and every day you stay, the cage gets a little more comfortable. The bars get a little harder to see, until one day you forget they're even there. And that's when you're truly gone. Not dead, just absent from your own life. Going through the motions, hitting the marks, playing your part in a show you never auditioned for. While somewhere deep inside, the person you actually are just keeps waiting. Waiting for permission that will never come. Waiting for courage that doesn't arrive on schedule. Waiting for the perfect moment that doesn't exist. Just waiting and waiting and waiting until waiting becomes your whole life. I did an exercise once that I can't stop thinking about. I counted the number of Tuesdays I have left. If I'm lucky, and I mean really lucky, I have maybe 2,500 of them. 2,500 Tuesdays. That sounds like a lot until you realize you've already spent most of them, and the ones you have left are going to disappear at the same speed the previous ones did, which felt like nothing, which felt like everything. 2,500 Tuesdays to figure out if this is actually the life I want, or if I've just been running out the clock on someone else's idea of what my life should look like. 2,500 Tuesdays to decide if I'm going to keep trading pieces of myself for security, or if I'm finally going to admit that security is just another word for a gilded cage. 2,500 Tuesdays left to become the person I suspect I actually am. Underneath all the performance, underneath all the careful curation. That's not a lot of time. But here's what's worse. I'll probably waste half of them before I even start trying. Because change is terrifying, and I've gotten so good at being this version of myself, the acceptable one, the reasonable one, the one everyone recognizes, even if I don't. Even if every time I look in the mirror, I see someone I vaguely remember meeting once, but can't quite place. There's a specific kind of haunting that happens when you abandon yourself. You become a ghost in your own life. moving through rooms you decorated but never inhabiting them, having conversations in a voice that doesn't sound like yours, making choices that serve a future you're not even sure you want. And the worst part? Other people can't see it. To them, you're fine, you're functioning, you've got your life together. They can't see the you that's trapped underneath, the one that's been silenced so long it's forgotten how to speak, the one that knows, absolutely knows, that this isn't what you came here to do, that there was supposed to be something more, something truer, something that actually felt like living instead of just managing not to die. But you can't explain that to people. You can't tell them you're drowning in a life they think looks perfect. You can't tell them you're suffocating under the weight of choices you made so long ago you can't remember making them. You can't tell them that every single day you wake up and put on this costume and perform this role and die a little more inside. Because they won't understand. They'll say you're being dramatic, ungrateful, that you should be happy with what you have. And maybe they're right. Or maybe they're just as trapped as you are, and your freedom would be too threatening, would ask too many questions about their own choices. So they keep you in place with their concern, with their advice, with their gentle reminders about responsibility and reality in growing up. And you let them, because some part of you is still hoping they're right, that this is just what life feels like, that everyone feels this way, and you're just the only one dramatic enough to complain about it. But you know that's not true. You've seen people who are actually alive, who inhabit their lives instead of managing them, who speak in their own voices instead of borrowed ones. And when you're around them, you feel something that's almost unbearable. Envy mixed with recognition, mixed with grief. Envy because they have something you gave up. Recognition because you remember what that felt like. And grief because you know how far you are from ever getting it back. I can't tell you what comes next. I can't promise you a revelation or a transformation or a moment where everything suddenly makes sense. Because I'm still here, in the middle of it, trying to figure out if it's possible to unbecome everything you've worked so hard to become. Trying to figure out if you can dismantle a life without destroying yourself in the process. Trying to figure out if the person you buried is still alive down there, or if you've waited too long and there's nothing left to excavate. I don't have those answers, but I do know this. Every day you wait is another day you're not getting back. Every day you choose the comfortable lie over the uncomfortable truth is another day you're practicing how to die. And one day, and you won't know which day it is, it'll be the last time you have the chance to choose differently. The last time you could have spoken up, walked away, started over. Become the person you can't stop thinking about in those 3 a.m. moments when you're too tired to lie to yourself. And you'll never know you missed it, because the last time never announces itself, it just passes. And then it's too late. And you're left with the most haunting question of all. What would my life have looked like if I'd been brave enough to live it? I still don't know if I'm brave enough, but at least now I know the question exists. And maybe that's where it starts. Not with answers, not with certainty, not with a plan, just with the terrible, beautiful acknowledgement that you've been dying slowly for years. And the choice, the only choice that actually matters, is whether you're going to keep doing it or not. I don't know what I'm going to choose tomorrow, but I know what I'm choosing today. I'm choosing to stop pretending I don't know. That's all I have, for now. It might be enough, it might not, but at least it's true.